It's just me and my thoughts, you know. All alone, you can tell the truth to yourself. Nobody but you.
Thanks for joining us today.
No
you
problem.
know, so I mean, we just wanted to, ask you a couple questions and, just to get people familiar with who you are, what you do, and things like that.
Cool.
So, your resume is really, really impressive. I mean, you have work in Transformers, American Pie, Dance Flick, Big Mama's House, just to name a few. For those that may be unfamiliar with you and your work, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
I grew up in Long Island, in Hempstead.
Okay.
Went to college in Buffalo. Decided that I wanted to make music my career. Left school early. I was on the Kanye college dropout plan. And I met some great people at the right moment, took advantage of certain opportunities and relationships, and decided that I wanted to make music for a living. And I was afforded the opportunity to, let a lot of people hear my music that liked it, and it turned into making music for film and TV, which was something that at the time, which was about 2001, wasn't too cool. It wasn't like a cool thing to do. It was just like, all right, you got a song in this movie, and that's kind of cheesy, but did you get a record to Nelly? Does Nelly know who you are? Does this A&R at Atlantic know you? And it was just kind of not the case. But I thought that it would be a niche, and it would be something that I could do where I didn't have to be popular or famous, and I was able to make a career out of it ever since.
Absolutely. So, name Chris Classic. That's a very, very interesting and just really cool name. Like, how did you get that name?
Well, my last name is Davis, and it's just I have like the most common name ever. It's Christopher Davis. Like, if you see it on a resume, oh, we're gonna get that guy. And interesting story on how I got the name. I used to go to Jam Master Jay's studio. He was very close to my family. And the only day that I could go, that he was there, and that I could afford to go, was on Sunday. So it was after church, and I was still kind of like in a suit. And so all the young cats from Queens, they're there, and they splitting Dutches, and they got on whatever, and they looking at me like, the heck is this dude doing here with a suit on, saying he's gonna rap. So Jay would always say, nah man, that's the look, that's the classic look. And we had this idea that as I kind of created music for this album that I was working on at that time, kind of like how when Neo had the whole the gentleman theme of kind of like the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra era, Sammy Davis Jr. thing. And that was going to be my image of kind of the first rapper to wear tuxes and suits and, kind of fedoras, dressed in a way that was kind of upscale. So, I put something about being classic in some random song I did, and he was just like, that's your name. And that was, I don't know, I think maybe around 2000, 1999, 2000, and it kind of stuck since then. Yeah.
That's what's up. Also, too, I mean, like we spoke a little bit about your resume earlier, and obviously you have quite an impressive resume.
Thanks.
I think arguably one of your, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe one of your proudest accomplishments is when you were able to win an American Music Award.
Yeah.
Tell me what was going through your mind, like when you found out you won, like and just what you won for, like what was really going through your mind when you found out?
Well, it was kind of like sweet vindication, to be honest, just because it was an American Music Award for Best Soundtrack, and the soundtrack was the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie soundtrack that we did. And as I was doing it, it was something cool, and I didn't care. I was just like, all right, I remember the Chipmunks from when I was a kid. My mom remembers them. My grandmother remembers them. And it was something that I felt was, iconic. What I appreciated about their franchise is that being a father, doing this was great for me because my son is going to remember this forever. And you know, so we did the entire soundtrack and we did all the music in the film. And as I was working on it, I remember being out somewhere and then, you know, somebody asking me what I was working on at the time. And I said the Chipmunk soundtrack. And, you know, they kind of looked me up and down like you look somebody up and down when it's just like, yeah, okay, man. And, you know, that person was a very influential blogger. And I was just like, man, you know, he's probably looking at me like a clown. And then, you know, I realized that when people would Google my name, Alvin and the Chipmunks would come up. So how could you say that this dude is some ill rapper and he's doing songs with the Chipmunks? So it was just kind of like, yeah, nah, you know. And so when I found out, I came into the office and it was just like, let's have a meeting. And I didn't, you know what it was about. And I found out that we were nominated. And then I found out that we won. And then it was just an exciting experience just because we worked hard for it. And at the end of the day, it was our legacy. You know what I'm saying? And I really didn't care what it was for. It was just the fact that as a company, we thought about it the year previous. You know what I'm saying? It was something like, yo, something is going to help us win an award to go to the next level. And I really didn't care. I kind of was almost proud that it was for something that was iconic and, you know, legacy. The Chipmunks franchise has sold 62 million albums, I believe. You know, over 100 #1 singles on Billboard. You know, like, it's a legitimate franchise. It just so happens that it's for kids and it's a cartoon. So, you know, there are a lot worse things that I could have been nominated for. And so I'm just happy that it happened to be something that I could legitimately be proud of. And, you know, I remember taking my son to the movies and not telling him that I was in the movie, or that, you know, our music was in it. And, you know, the look on his face when he saw his dad, like, on the TV screen, and then he's able to see his name in the credits because, you know, I write all of my music in his name. So, you know, it's just he gets to see it. And I can't relive that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was something that was really amazing. And we just try to do our best to recreate it.
Obviously, you write for movies and soundtracks, but you're also an artist yourself. So can you describe how that process is? Is it a different process in writing for a movie than writing for yourself?
Totally different. It's almost, and I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm a little jaded, but it really isn't the case. They say once you do something 21 days straight, it becomes a habit. They say once you do something over 10,000 hours, you're an expert. So I've been creating music for film and TV since 2002, just to be safe. It's 10 years later. And I've been doing it day in and day out. It's robotic for me. So it's easier for me to create a song that may be heard by millions of people than it is for me to create a song that just people who know the type of music I make for myself personally, it's totally different. So, you know, I usually do a summer mixtape, and I don't even know why I chose. I think it was just something I decided to do once, and then, you know, it had a good response, so I did it again and again. And I know that I'm getting ready to start working on another mixtape. I don't know if it's going to actually be a summer mixtape or just something that is a compilation of my ideas, just because I find that after October or after, like, September, when I give people or show people the last thing that I did, they look at it like, oh, this was the summer, okay, and it's kind of old, you know what I'm saying, for people who don't know me. So I think I just want to make something that is a little broader, so that it can be at least received and accepted all year round. So I just started last week, actually, collecting tracks for that. So yeah, the process is totally different. You know, a lot of times the music supervisors, who are the people who pick out the music for movies and TV shows, they usually have a budget, and their budget entitles them to get certain songs that they feel are appropriate for scene and you know, whatever, a feeling of that moment.
Okay.
Sometimes they want something that's well known, and sometimes they want something that is just lyrically appropriate, something that touches on the moment.
Okay.
For example, you know, in The Hangover, as they're driving to Vegas, "Wait Till I Get My Money Right" is kind of like the perfect thing to hear.
Yeah.
Now, that license, which is when they use someone's music, may have cost them, since it was Kanye, maybe 125 grand just for those 10 seconds. Their whole budget for music in the movie may be $400,000. So to spend $125,000 on 10 seconds is a lot. And they can't do that because they have 90 minutes of film to score. So a lot of times that's what behooves the music supervisors to come to us, just because we're creating music that sounds exactly as good as what's on the radio and what people like, but without the ego of the artists and producers. So you know, we started off not saying no to anything, whether the budget was $200, $2,000, or 20 grand. We just never said no. And some of those people who were assistants and interns at places 10 years later are now the vice presidents and presidents, or you know, the senior music supervisors at these different movie studios. So those relationships are built where we saved their ass at some point. You know what I'm saying? And we came through in the clutch and created this song that sounded almost as, you know, similar to XYZ without them having to spend 150 grand to use it for 10 seconds. You know, we're a fraction of that cost. But the music is the same. It, you know, meaning it feels the same. And we give them a whole song. And we can change it because it's us. Kanye is not going to go back in the studio and change something that he did 2 years ago just for your 125 grand. He's just not going to do it. But we do. And so they're getting the full song, instrumental, lyrics, totally modular to what they want. And, you know, we own it, of course.